Alright, welcome to episode 11. I am gonna go through the data log a little bit here, just to kind of catch up with where we're at, kind of figure things out for myself. We're gonna go with events right now. So chapter 1, let's see, lightning and saws on the train with civilians destined for exile. In stark contrast to the uncertain and despairing people around her, lightning is focused. There's an instant of inattention that she disabled a guard, impressed saws, and other civilians took up arms. Train crashes to a halt in the war-torn district known as the Hanging Edge. Okay. Fields of war. Suspect citizens of Cocoon are wrenched from their tranquil existence and threatened with exile to the world of Pulse. The purge has begun. The land below, which we have, I believe, kind of fallen down to, maybe. Unknown perils. Terrified civilians begin to rebel against the... It would take them to the land below? There was a revolt also in the transporting of the purge deportees. Okay. The citizens of Cocoon are constant fear of invasion by the forces of Pulse, the world below, and supposed home of terrors unknown. Okay, so Pulse is... so Cocoon is this, like, city that I kind of saw that's, like, built up in the sky. And Pulse is below. Okay, but there's another civilization of Pulse, I think. I don't really just want to read everything. I just kind of want to give a summary of what I'm gleaning from this stuff. The Sanctum is Cocoon's governing body. They initiated the Purge, which was a gov initiative to deport anybody who's come in contact with corrupting Pulsian influences. The Sanctum's actually now brutally slaughtering civilians they were supposed to be deporting. Snow and his gang realize the Purge is nothing more than a massacre in disguise. So the freedom fighters of Nora are led in an effort to protect the deportees from the Sanctum soldiers. Okay. This is a repeat of the last one. Brutal extermination of all possible threats to a peaceful society. The citizens helped out with Snow and his gang. The fear is so great that Cocoon Native... So if a Cocoon Native were even to have the briefest contact with Pulsian elements, former friends and neighbors would consider them corrupted and dangerous. PSICOM is the elite arm of the Sanctum military. They started the massacre. Massive object transported through the sky over the Hanging Edge. It was a Pulse vestige. We went into that. That's a lower world artifact. Nothing more than a Bodum landmark for a while. It was discovered that the vestige housed a long-dormant Pulse Fal'Cie. It had slumbered undisturbed on the outskirts of a Cocoon city for centuries. And the Sanctum determined that that entity was corrupting possibly the entire population of the city. And that's the reason for the Purge. Into the vestige. Snow let the mom of Hope die, but you know, that was barely in his control whatsoever. She begged him to take care of her boy without revealing who her boy was. Snow made sure everybody was safe, but then set off to go into the pulse to meet the pulse Fal'Cie. And Hope follows him with Vanille. Back. The people were very much overwhelmed by and outmatched by the military of the Sanctum, the Psycom peeps. All right, chapter 2. Hope and Vanille rushed into the lair of a Fal'Cie. There were lots of scary bad things in there. The Pulse entity could use its power to curse them, to turn the servants of the Fal'Cie, who created them, despised and feared by the people of Cocoon. Vanille seems nonplussed by everything. Let's see. Purge, blah, blah, blah. Any person coming in contact. Deportation was actually a massacre. Snow's looking for Sarah. The Pulse Fal'Cie were holding Snow's fiancée captive. We still don't necessarily know how Lightning was able to open that one door by asking it. And that's actually kind of, I didn't really think about that. Did her plea reach the mind of the Fal'Cie, or something else open the door? Sarah opening the door doesn't really make sense. I don't think she had that power, but... And then Saz has a purpose in all this we don't know yet. Military weapons stock the halls of the Vestige. I think those are like the Pantherons and such, and those little bots and such. But then, yeah. There's a Psycom recon team that was trapped inside. Fal'Cie are former humans who have become agents of destruction. Fal'Cie are also cursed beings who wield supernatural power, whose very existence incites panic and destruction. Excuse me. Hope is even more upset when he learns that Snow is trying to rescue Fal'Cie, his fiancée, and because Cocoon fears the Fal'Cie. We learn that if a Fal'Cie fails their service, they become Sieth, which I called zombies, but they're mostly called ghouls, ghasts, and the flying ones were... don't remember. If Fal'Cie completes the focus given by the Fal'Cie, they turn into crystal and gain eternal life. And Sarah does just that after she convinces, or at least tells, Lightning and Snow to save Cocoon, I think. What focus has she completed, though? We don't really know. And then the Sanctum started shooting the crap out of the Vestige. And our group heads deeper into the complex. Snow wants to persuade the Fal'Cie to release Sarah. Lightning and Saz have other plans, but I don't think Saz had the plan that Lightning had. Snow offers himself instead of Sarah. Fal'Cie was silent. Lightning dashes at the thingy and starts smacking at it. And the Vestige plummets toward the lake below when we take down... It was called Anima, and it had those mechanical arm things. A wave of power from the dying Fal'Cie transforms the water and surrounding area into solid crystal. We didn't witness that because we were into some rift dimension kind of thing with an immense otherworldly presence. We have brands that were seared into our bodies. We got a vision of a beast destroying Cocoon. And then, let's see. We get the memory of Snow's proposal to Sarah. Chapter 3. We're in Lake Brescia, solidified into crystal, thanks to the Vestige. I'm kind of learning a bit more about... I thought Sanctum was a force from beyond Cocoon. I didn't know Pulse was like the world. We got new powers, we got the brands. We are now Fal'Cie, and don't know what our focus is, but some of the flashes that we had, we think maybe Ragnarok to either prevent it or to bring it about. Otherwise, we become the zombies, the CF. We don't know what the mission actually is. Snow thinks that it was Sarah's telling us to save Cocoon that is what we're supposed to do. But Pulse Fal'Cie are the hated enemies of Cocoon. A post-Fal'Cie would never assign such a... But, no. The people of Cocoon don't like the Pulse Fal'Cie. I think it's more that they're afraid of them. And it could be a fear given to them by the government. Government has a tendency to propagandize its people. So, it doesn't really seem like the Pulse Fal'Cie believes that the Cocoon people are its enemy. At least not to my knowledge yet. Maybe... and I don't know anything about this game or the story yet, but maybe this whole Ragnarok thing, maybe get the Fal'Cie giving powers to people throughout the ages is just its way of eventually like getting the right people in the right places at the right time, like dominoes falling, in order to eventually help prevent, like to find the right people eventually to help prevent Ragnarok from actually destroying everything. Like the people being afraid of the power of the Fal'Cie makes total sense if you don't really understand everything, and again, if you're being propagandized against them. Who knows, though? I certainly don't. I'm guessing. The Sanctum, however, have come down with us, and they'll be attacking us periodically, as well as other creatures that we see down here. We find Sarah crystallized. Lightning, with no other choice really in her mind, says goodbye, but Snow keeps trying to dig her out. With what looks like it's a piece of scrap from some ship or something, metal scrap. Kind of looks like a crutch to me every time I see it, but with a pointy sharp end. So we leave him behind. We're just running around the crystallized lake. Oops, sorry, hold on. Yeah, and once again, like the overwhelming fear of anything to do with the Fal'Cie or Fal'Cie or whatever is spurning on. Is that the right word? Anyway, the government to push their forces down here and just try to kill us. The purge was simply because the people of Cocoon lived near an uncovered pulse Fal'Cie that maybe even the people didn't even know existed. And the people of Cocoon allowed such an extreme policy to become a reality, and the government simply acted in response to the will of the people. Although they're sure there's some back and forth stuff. Odin is the Fal'Cie who guides the sanctum. Wait, so Odin is a Fal'Cie which guides the sanctum, which are the forces of the government of Cocoon, which all hate the Fal'Cie and the Fal'Cie. So what? What, huh? Oh, what? We are passing through the ruins of a city damaged several centuries ago in the war with Pulse. So I guess there was a war between Cocoon and Pulse, and that's where on Pulse is where we've been kind of going through this rubble. We found an airship to try to shake the relentless army, but we were chased. Snow is adamant that we are not the enemies of Cocoon. Sarah's last words are proof enough to him that their focus is to defeat Ragnarok. He is attacked by Psycom soldiers. But the twin sisters of Shiva, Styria and Nyx, appear before him in a blinding flash of light. They easily dispatch the remaining troops and then turn on Snow. I do some stuff to win him over. And then Snow is captured by a woman with a Fal'Cie brand, and she also has some soldiers at her back. And then Lightning and her crew, their airship plummeted to the ground after being chased forever. We are now in the Vile Peaks, which I believe is also part of Pulse. It's on the ground, you know. I think everything that's not Cocoon was Pulse. So far, it's what I'm guessing. Lightning is still just trying to outdistance any pursuers, and Hope goes with her. Saz is exhausted, and he and Vanille end up just kind of sticking together for a bit. We got the Lightning flashback, like what was happening. He got a gift. Her lieutenant told her not to get connected to anything, not to mess with anything that was connected to the lower world, so Pulse. So, the Sanctum announced that the Pulse, Fal'Cie, and any civilians who may have come into contact with its influence are to be deported to the world below. That was the Purge. Lightning knew that Sarah was being held by the offending creature, so that was the Pulse Vestige. Inside the Pulse Vestige. She thinks the only way to get to her sister is to be exiled aboard that train. The Saws also joined the Purge voluntarily, but we don't know why still. Hope was a resident of Palum Polum, so he never should have been a candidate for the Purge. But they were in whatever city that was all happening in on the day it started. Bodum, sorry. Bodum was a coastal community where we had lightning and saws and vanilla and stuff. The soldiers made no distinction between locals and visitors. Hope is just upset with everybody. The government that started the Purge, the Fal'Cie who made him a lussie. Still hating Snow, who dragged his mom into her eventual death and let her fall, although, you know, it's a miracle he caught her in the first place, you know. Hope is also not at all enthused by the idea of reuniting with his dad. But Saws knows what it feels like to be a dad, so he is insistent about it. There's a war of transgression that was mentioned earlier, the conflict between Pulse and Cocoon. A towering wreck is all that remains of a lower world airship shot down during the battle that took place centuries before. Forces from Pulse attempted to invade Cocoon, only to be repelled by the efforts of the Sanctum Fal'Cie. Though not before the invaders had rent a great wound in the floating world shell. So, there was a Fal'Cie in the vestige that was found in Pulse, and that was like, there were like a bunch of ships with cables that were flying this vestige through Cocoon, and that was also the reason for the Purge in the first place, because the government... See, that doesn't make sense. The government of... Isn't Sanctum the government of Cocoon? So the government was purging its own people? Or is it just the one city, the Bodum? And then, but the frickin' Sanctum have their own Fal'Cie. Though Sanctum Fal'Cie subsequently repaired the damage using debris from the surface of their routed enemy's planet. And that was a damage in the shell of Cocoon that was inflicted by that last war a couple centuries ago. But the citizens of Cocoon fear all things that are Pulse. Mechanical terrors were brought in, I guess accidentally, with the debris, and they replaced their rusting parts and wander the area. Wait, that's down here, right? I thought that was... Oh. The Pulse Fal'Cie buried in Bodum may have arrived in the same fashion, sleeping away the years until its eventual discovery. So that may have arrived in Bodum because the scrap was used from another area to repair the shell? Yeah, see, this is why I'm having such a freaking struggle with this. Nothing there. Lightning makes a decision. The Pulse Fal'Cie transformed her and Sarah into Fal'Cie. The Sanctum Fal'Cie, Eden, directs the army hunting her down. Pulse or Sanctum Fal'Cie means one thing to Lightning, an enemy responsible for ruining their lives. A clear-cut enemy is something she can deal with. Having a target is something she... Okay, so her new target is to destroy the Eden Fal'Cie. The Sanctum Fal'Cie. And the last one that I have here. Lightning got agitated. Their army is the Sanctum army. She can't afford looking after Hope, who is struggling a bit. She loses patience, tries to leave him behind. Her Fal'Cie brand burns with radiant pain. And Odin appears and attacks Hope, but Lightning blocks it. And then we fight Lightning. We fight Odin, and it was rough. I learned a lot actually over the course of today and a little bit last night. When you're healing, like that's really good at filling Odin's gestalt bar. So like, and there's gonna be a lot of healing. I do want to learn how to do single heals and not like the full 3 pulses on the same target if I can. And also Odin had a bunch of freaking, like you want to start the fight with Medic, Lightning, and Synergist Hope so that Hope can buff everybody while Lightning throws cures on whoever needs them. And you can just hold off on throwing Lightning's cures until you see somebody who needs them the most. But I do want to learn to single cure and see how that works out. Now we have command of Odin, but we don't know why the Eidolon appeared in the first place. Let's see. Day 5 of the 13 days. There's an accident at the Uride Gorge energy plant located near the seaside community of Bodum. Details weren't released to the public. Lots of conjecture among the populace. They thought it might be sabotaged by Pulse Fal'Cie. Day 10 is all about Lightning's birthday. She was out shopping for a present with Sarah. Snow slipped away to get an engagement necklace. Sarah got searched for a gift that would help keep Lightning safe during her dangerous work as a soldier and was going to give it to her and confess about becoming Fal'Cie. I still don't know why she was doing that, was becoming Fal'Cie. The Bodum vestige was a minor local landmark paid little regard. That changed on this night when SciComm discovered that the relic's long-sealed entrance had somehow been opened. A reconnaissance team was sent inside reporting the discovery of a Pulse Fal'Cie before communication links suddenly went silent. Okay, so the vestige had been there in Bodum and it was like, okay, cool, whatever. But a door was opened, SciComm discovered it and went in, found the Fal'Cie. We lost communication. Meaning they were probably made into Fal'Cie, but who knows? The Sanctum sealed the door to the vestige, trapped the team inside. Wow. And then the plans for the purge started. Lightning was on security detail during the fireworks display that we've seen a couple times. She was released of duty by Lieutenant Amadar. SciComm found something in the vestige. Lightning flashed back to the accident at the energy plant. And then her lieutenant said, "Don't get involved in this, man," or ma'am, whatever. Hope and his mom became victims of the purge because they were visiting for the fireworks. So inside the Bodum vestige was a Fal'Cie of pulse origin. Centuries in hibernation, humans none the wiser to its presence. The Sanctum, deemed the potential contamination by pulse magic a risk too great to overlook, started the purge. Involuntary removal of the Fal'Cie and the entire population of Bodum from Cocoon. And everybody was told they were going to be transported to Pulse, so the world below, I believe. Sarah discovered Lightning discovered Sarah was being held captive by the Pulse Fal'Cie inside the vestige. How she got there, nobody's explained yet. But all of the Fal'Cie and the deportees were all being transported away from Cocoon, so that's why Lightning jumped on that train just to go in the same direction. Alright. Pulse. Resting in Cocoon's shadow, the sprawling and enigmatic lower world of Pulse is home to a multitude of terrors. The land is commonly believed to be inhospitable to human life, and a strict ban on interworld travel forbids citizens of Cocoon from venturing there to challenge this hypothesis. Not even members of the Sanctum's upper echelon, I think it's echelon, E, Charlie, H, E, L, O, Nancy, I've seen it plenty of times, I don't have to say it out loud very often, can claim to have seen the surface with their own eyes. But the attempted invasion by the world's savage armies several centuries ago is well documented. Widespread fear of a repeated assault persists among the populace even today, with colloquial references often likening the world to a manner of living hell. Fal'Cie are in existence beyond human comprehension, possessed of incredible magic power. The ones responsible for Cocoon's construction are protectors of humanity. Okay, so there's the good Fal'Cie who constructed Cocoon. Other kinds as well, the Fal'Cie who dwell on Pulse and name themselves. So they named themselves enemies of Cocoon? According to who? Humans who encounter Pulse Fal'Cie are cursed, turned into l'Cie, and ordered to destroy Cocoon. Really? Again, all the evidence I've seen so far is to the contrary. We got the l'Cie. We've already pretty much talked about them a lot. They get magic, but they're cursed to complete a task known as the Focus. Sieth, we already went over. Crystal stasis. If you complete your focus, you're stasisized. No. You are forever in a stasis situation. That can't be the no. Whatever. You are in stasis as Crystal. It's a death sentence either way. Either you become a what are they called? Shoot, I already forgot. The zombie guys, whatever. A Sieth, sorry. Or you become Crystal. Eidolons, mystical entities, reveal themselves before only a select few l'Cie. It is said that they are saviors come to rescue hopeless l'Cie who find themselves bound to a focus against their will. If this is true, they offer a brand of salvation few indeed would seek willingly. Without exception, Eidolons attack the l'Cie Without exception, Eidolons attack the Fal'Cie whose presences they grace. Okay, yeah, we've witnessed that. We've experienced that. There have been no Fal'Cie in Cocoon for centuries, and as a result, no way of determining the truth behind tales of these beings. To the citizens of Cocoon, they remain the stuff of bedtime stories. Ragnarok. We got a phantom vision when we were branded Fal'Cie. They witnessed creature besieging Cocoon's capital of Eden, but whether this was a glimpse of past events or a vision of things yet to come was unclear. We think that Ragnarok is inextricably linked to our focus. We don't know what the focus is yet, though. Several hundred years ago was the War of Transgression. Pulse attempted to invade Cocoon. The Sanctum's Fal'Cie was able to repel the lower world forces, but they did do some serious damage to areas of the Outer Rim, or near the world's Outer Rim. Details actually are pretty mysterious. We don't really know a lot, apparently. But the government's swift and decisive response to this violent Pulsian transgression minimized casualties and greatly boosted public faith in both the Sanctum. Okay. In the aftermath of the War of Transgression, regions near Cocoon's outer rim were left uninhabitable due to the severe trauma they had sustained. To undo this damage, the Fal'Cie gathered materials from the surface of Pulse and rebuilt Cocoon's wounded landscape using them. Are we in some part of Cocoon, like an outer part of Cocoon? Bodum was one city so affected, and like the others, it still bears lingering traces of post-war reconstruction in the form of leftover lower world artifacts. The Pulse vestige that hid a dormant Fal'Cie was one such artifact. What is the Vile Peaks? Yeah. The Vile Peaks are built of debris. Okay. The cast-offs material originally lifted up from Pulse by the Fal'Cie and used in the construction of Cocoon and later editions of Landmass. So we're on Cocoon, or at least between Cocoon and Pulse. Weird. Pretty much. From her lofty seat, the world of Cocoon has long enjoyed tranquility. The interior of her spherical shell. Okay, so Cocoon is a spherical. I think I've seen that in some of the things we saw. So Cocoon is just in the sky, and Eden is at the northern, like the topmost, vertically part of. So it's actually a cocoon. That's interesting. And then to try to repair. So wait, are we still in Cocoon? But we're in the lower parts of it. Anyway, sorry. The interior of her spherical shell supports several sprawling cities and a population numbering the tens of millions. Although a variety of dangerous beasts prowl the wilds, advanced technology and the protection of the world's Fal'Cie keepers ensure residents a peaceful and prosperous existence. Travel to the lower world of Pulse is forgotten, so that's outside of Cocoon. But given the deep-seated cultural fears of the place, Cocoon citizens don't even want to do that. The Hanging Edge, a relic of days before the War of Transgression, the Hanging Edge is located near Cocoon's outer rim. Okay, good to know. The area was once a thriving urban center, but residents were forced to abandon the location when an attack by Pulsian forces cracked Cocoon's shell several centuries ago. It was since designated a restricted zone and, with civilian access prohibited, soon became nothing more than a name on local maps. So, okay. Bodum, modest city by the sea, hometown of Lightning and Sarah and Snow and the members of Nora. We saw a bunch of them at that like seaside bar, and yeah, popular destination for vacationers. Annual beachfront fireworks display, but that display was ruined a little bit by the discovery of the Pulse Fal'Cie within the nearby vestige. Sanctum quarantined the city on that day after the discovery and started the purge. Where's Lake Brescia? Located near Cocoon's outer rim, which is kind of what the same thing that was said about the Hanging Edge, sorry. Directly beneath the Hanging Edge, sorry. Okay, so we were taken from Bodum on trains. Would this be including Snow? Where did Snow come from? Oh yeah, he was in Bodum. But was he on a train, or did he escape? Oh, they were resisting the purge, so he was part of people, and somehow that resistance spilled away from Bodum into Hanging Edge. Lake Brescia was once a bustling center of activity. It's desolate now, home only to monsters that lurk amongst the centuries-old remnants of civilization. So, like, it was abandoned, much like Hanging Edge after the War of Transgression. And now it's crystal. Palampolum is where Hope and his mom were from. Biggest cities of Cocoon, one of them. Retail stores. A rarity in a city where online purchases, that's funny. Online purchases are the norm. The local government actively encourages businesses to set up shop in Palampolum because it's kind of a tourist attraction. Eden, Cocoon's capital, shares its name with its Fal'Cie patron, host to the world's centers of culture and government, heart of human society on Cocoon. Eden Hall is a monumental city hall, city core thing. The Pulse vestiges. So the Fal'Cie sculpted Cocoon in antiquity using resources harvested from the world below. Okay, yeah. Wait, so not only to repair Cocoon after that war, but just the construction of Cocoon alone was made by the Fal'Cie inside Eden, like just gathering whatever materials it could from Pulse. That's not a bad reason for Pulse to have attacked. Because our Fal'Cie was just like, hey, we're gonna take all your shit, and then like to like make our Cocoon world, and then the below world was like, hey, we need some of that shit. What are you doing? And then, when Cocoon's shell was fractured in the war, they repaired it with raw materials, again gathered from Pulse. Buildings, just took buildings. Remnants of these structures, termed vestiges, can still be found throughout Cocoon today. Centuries-old vestige outside of Bodum was believed to be a harmless curiosity. They discovered a Pulse Fal'Cie inside, and the doors were opened again somehow. And then the purge. I think we've done the Guardian Corps versus SciComm. Guardian Corps is a branch of the Sanctum military responsible for maintaining peace and stability within Cocoon. Police officers and protectors, and that was what Lightning was. So they take on criminals and rampaging wildlife. Rarely employs heavy weaponry or cruiser-class airships, but they do have shock troops. Versus SciComm, which is the government's main, bioweapons? The Sanctum has developed a vast arsenal of weaponry to defend against the constant threat of Pulse, and these living weapons are one of the many fruits its research has borne. Ordinary Cocoon wildlife transforming into efficient killing machinery through selective breeding, intense training, and physical augmentation. Bioweapons retain all the raw power and feral fury of their natural counterparts while obeying the commands of their handlers. So that'd be like all of the Pantherons and the Behemoths. I guess those are just, Okay. What's AMP technology? Is that, okay, so for bracing your fall. Antimatter manipulation principle, AMP. Phase space interference to the manipulation of gravitational force. monodrives, another product of the principle, we can synthesize some of the amp effects. And then NORA, paramilitary organization known as NORA, is a group composed of like-minded youths assembled by Snow and self-funded by the operation of a seaside cafe in Bodum. That was their headquarters, okay. Functioning as a neighborhood watch of sorts, NORA members patrol the vicinity of Bodum for trouble. Most often, trouble consists of encroachment by dangerous forms of wildlife. They never openly acted out against the Sanctum prior to the Purge, and because of this, the military had been content to turn a blind eye to... Okay, yeah. What's the Bodum security regiment then? Oh wait, that's what Lightning was part of, sorry. But they were a section of the Guardian Corps. Okay, yeah. They were one of the least active regiments of the Corps, or Corps. Corps. Charlie O.R. Paulsam. Like Marine Corps, but that's one of the dumbest... Several dumb things about... Well, a lot of languages have dumb things, but that's one of the dumb things about English. Although I don't think that's an English word originally. In fact, I'm fairly certain it was not originally an English word. Sometimes the Bodum Security Regiment was sent to aid in exterminating dangerous wildlife in frontier regions, though. Oh. Okay. Eden. The namesake of Cocoon's capital, as Fal'Cie directs the others of its kind who... directs the others of its kind to support the world's day-to-day existence, while Cocoon's other Fal'Cie do not communicate with humans. Eden does. So there are other Fal'Cie that work alongside Eden, but Eden is the only one that talks to us. It is known to issue orders to the Primarch, who we saw on television once, and he wasn't the only one necessarily that enacted the Purge, but... And sometimes it even steps in to correct political gaffes. The loss of Eden could possibly spell the end of Cocoon itself. Phoenix... I have not heard of this in this game yet. Cocoon's own light in the sky. Phoenix is a Sanctum Fal'Cie tasked with providing warmth and illumination. Oh, we did fly up toward that, didn't we? And kind of got clipped by one of those. Like, that was the sun-like thing that I was talking about, like the sun, the rays of the sun. It floats at the center of Cocoon's inner atmosphere like a miniature sun, bathing the surrounding world in its radiant glow. It is the Fal'Cie who are responsible for Cocoon's climate, regularly adjusting weather as deemed necessary. Just as Phoenix regulates daylight, other subordinate Fal'Cie maintain patterns of wind and precipitation. We're gonna have to fight those, aren't we? Anima was hibernating deep within the vestige that was outside of Bodum. It branded Sarah, as well as Lightning Stone. So I knew that, but again, how and why did Sarah get in there? Like, a doorway was discovered, troops went in, Sarah not a troop, so why would she go in? Once we lost communication with the troops, it was sealed again, so how did Sarah get in there? Anyway, Sanctum and anybody on Cocoon had no knowledge at all of Anima being there, stowing away in that vestige. Cool. Okay. Does this say how Sarah... They lost both their parents, so Sarah and Lightning's parents were, you know... When she encounters the Fal'Cie Anima and... How does she get in there? Wait. So... This says, without ever uncovering her task, she urges the others to save Cocoon before suddenly turning to crystal. this is part of why I think that, yeah, I think that all of the Fal'Cie, well, I think maybe Eden is not necessarily good guy. Maybe not necessarily bad guy either. But I don't think that the Fal'Cie of Pulse are really against. Like, I think maybe Eden doesn't believe that Ragnarok can occur. I think Eden might think that their way of protecting the people of Cocoon is the only way and the best way. And I think despite that, and maybe like miscommunications with whatever is the main Fal'Cie of Pulse, I think the Pulse Fal'Cie is actually still trying to save us, or save Cocoon from Ragnarok. And I think that each Fal'Cie, or each l'Cie in order, again, dominoes leading to an overall idea of finding the right people to eventually fight off Ragnarok and save the world. No idea. I have no idea who Galanth Disley is. I don't care either. Huge, Maki, Lebrou, and Godot were part of Snow's crew. Chocobo Chick. It has only been with Saws for a short while, but there's a strong bond between them. The chick has no name, as voicing the true identity of the animal might trigger ripples of destiny across Cocoon and cause a hurricane in Eden. No. Either that or Saws just hasn't thought of one yet. In some Final Fantasy games, one of the summons is a Chocobo of some kind. I know 7 is the popular one, the Fat Chocobo, I'm pretty sure. I think there's another version of that summon that... Was it like there's some rushing Chocobos? Like a stampede? It's been a long time. I don't remember for sure. What does it say about Saws? We'll do Saws and Vanilla since we don't really know anything about him. Saws is a trained civilian airship pilot. Okay, didn't know that. Literally nothing about Vanille. Nothing that is all like, who is she? Where is she from? What is she doing here? Okay. Alright then. Well, that's enough for this video. It is long, and I thought I would actually get through things faster than that. I didn't know there was that much information. Let's do one fight, because this is the opposite direction of where we want to go. Wait, what? Wait, this is the opposite direction.
FFXIII!
Got my back?
Yeah!
Oh. Is this the Odin tutorial? Oops, didn't know that. I just went the opposite direction of what the game was telling me to go, so I don't know. But there were red marks on the map, like, I want to get a fight in. Lightning can spend technical points to summon Odin. Only Lightning can summon Odin. Go to techniques, summon. It costs 3. Odin.
Odin.
From her chest glows. Oh, I can't pause. From her chest glows this purplish, reddish, pinkish glow, like an orb. And then once again, Odin with the glyph and the rose petals, and Lightning has... Can I pause? lightning jumped into the sky or was propelled by the eruption of the Odin petal. And when she fell down, she like was caught, spun around by Odin, and like she landed on the ground on her feet. Eidolon's SP gauge, so 3645 is his current SP. It depletes gradually over time, and whenever he takes damage. If it reaches 0, he will be dismissed. Press X to activate Gestalt mode. This mode allows you to perform powerful attacks from the back of your Eidolon. Pay close attention to Lightning's Gestalt gauge, which is... okay. Represents Gestalt mode's duration. Your Eidolon will disappear when Gestalt mode expires. Yeah. So it is best to activate it after the gauge has charged. So as soon as the gauge charges, just activate Gestalt mode, which is X. To charge it, help the Eidolon attack enemies and build attack chains. Yeah. Combat controls are slightly different. Press the button shown by the Gestalt dial to execute attacks. The dial's count will decrease each time you use an ability. When it reaches 0, okay. Did I do it right?
We do this together.
Yeah. Gestalt mode. He jumps into the sky, becomes Sleipnir again. Like his body transforms into the horse. And gallops down. Lightning jumps on with the Odin spear, which she takes apart into 2 pieces. And she has like 2 swords. Okay. We have Auto Gestalt, which is just the enter button. Up enter is Stormblade. Down enter is Lightning Strike. Left or right enter is Razor Gale. Back. Are these the cost too? Like 2, 3, 4, and all? Okay, yeah, it is. So this is the cost. Once it reaches 1, you want to press E. To like, that's what I read. Because this was talked about in the guide a bit. So let's see. I want to do. We could do 4, 4, 4, 3, and then E. Let's try that. So backspace, 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 left enter, E. Jumps in the sky. Do that again.
Charge!
And
The
E.
storm is here!
Boom. We have like a freeze frame moment. She jumps from the back of Sleipnir, spins around with those blades. Like this lightning Z
Until next
across
time.
the screen. She hands the spear to Sleipnir, who dashes off. That was cool. She does have 4 attacks now.
Time to switch it up. Follow my lead.
We're not really doing any good here at staggering. I have learned that, and this was already kind of known, I just kind of didn't understand it the way I guess I was meant to. These are really hard to stagger. But yeah, Ravagers are very good at building the percentage. And that percentage is always a bonus to the damage you're doing. Commandos and Saboteurs are good at maintaining that bar. I got 5 anyway, wow. I probably should have fought alongside Odin a little bit before that.
We'll stop here.
So yeah. Ravagers build the percentage. As they're building the percentage, everybody's doing more damage according to that percentage. And every creature has their own percentage at which they are staggered. And I think that was shown... I think that's shown by the yellow bar that's filling up slowly. Or going down depending on who's doing the attacking. So Ravagers are the best at building that percentage closer and closer to whatever the stagger point is. Once you reach the stagger point, that percentage jumps up by another 100%. Not multiplied by, but it adds 100%. So if the stagger percentage is 250 and you reach that, suddenly you're 350. At that point, you can have a bunch of Ravagers, like Tri-Disaster, just increasing the crap out of that percentage while it's staggered. Or, like the game and some guides mostly talk about, you can keep 1 Commando and 2 Ravagers to increase the chain, but also increase the amount of time that chain is active. That's what the Commando's job will be. Apparently these chains can last between 8 and 45 seconds, depending on how... Apparently it's just how many times the Commando is attacking or the Saboteur is doing their thing that determines the length of time the chain is active. But I think that all happens before the stagger. I'm not entirely sure a Commando can increase that stagger's duration during the stagger. But Commandos eventually get a damage bonus during stagger that is monumental. It's like 150% damage bonus, plus another 15% for any other Commandos. And that'll stack on each other. So if there's 2 Commandos, they both get 150 for themselves and an additional 15 for each other. So, do a lot of damage. Commando doesn't necessarily help the chain percentage, like the stagger percentage go up, but and Ravagers will. That's why, even though I thought Commandos were the ones that you wanted to be attacking the most during a stagger time, I was seeing a lot of damage from Ravagers, like Hope casting his lightning spells and whatever, but... Saboteur, like I said, acts pretty much the same as a Commando. Well, it doesn't do any damage, but applying debuffs has the same effect on that stagger duration and that bar. But yeah.
Sorry. Don't sweat it. I'll look around. You rest up.
I don't know if I should have attacked alongside Odin before jumping on him, but there's a timer. Hope is sleeping, kind of seated with his back against a rock. A large boulder. Hope sits down across from him against another boulder. Sorry, Lightning sits down across from him.
Mom?
Hope is having a dream.
Not by a long shot.
And Hope kind of starts drifting a little bit to his side, but not falling yet. And the camera pans out and away from the scene. I I should have just stopped there. I can. I'm gonna make another video so I can pause it there. Actually, it doesn't even matter because I saved it. Cool. Sorry. I hope that wasn't... It was probably pretty boring if you already played this game and you understood everything that was already going on. Or you haven't played it, but you still understood everything that was going on, even though I didn't. But I learned a lot, and I have questions, and I have guesses at what the answers might be, but who freaking knows? Anyway, hope you enjoyed, even with all that said, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye for now.